Hello everybody, it's Stuart Broadley here from the EIC. I'm delighted to welcome you to our EIC Survive and Thrive podcast series. EIC's world-renowned Survive and Thrive research started in 2016, analysing a selection of EIC members in the energy supply chain to better understand what strategies they were using to survive or thrive in the challenging markets they were facing at the time, soon after the 2014 oil crisis. Since then, EIC has continued that research, understanding growth strategies used by our member companies each year, and the Survive and Thrive report has grown to become a valuable source of insight and inspiration for policymakers, business leaders, and investors as they seek to better understand the key drivers behind business decision-making, such as related to strategy and leadership, innovation, energy transition, resilience, and international trade. EIC's Survive and Thrive research covers companies involved in all forms of energy technology and from all around the world. It is, in fact, a truly unique window into the normally confidential considerations that happen in boardrooms of businesses as they grapple with challenging markets to find their own pathways to successful growth, profit, sustainability, and customer and employee delight. I am therefore delighted to now welcome our latest EIC member company that is featured in this Survive and Thrive story. I'm Stuart Broadley, CEO of the EIC, and I'm delighted today to welcome friend and new EIC board member, James Phipps, who is MD at Cokebusters. So, Cokebusters is also a 2023 World Energy Supply Chain Awards Company of the Year winner. So we'll come on and talk about that later. Hi, James. Welcome.
Good morning, Stuart.
How are you today?
I'm very well.
Thanks for making the rainy trip early morning over to London.
Not a problem. First time in the office. Lovely to be here. And what a great vista.
So tell us a bit about Cokebusters, because it's a family business. You didn't go straight in at the start of the family business. So let's start with that.
No, I joined in 2020, just at the start of COVID. Cokebusters is actually 20 years old next Tuesday. It was founded in 2005 by my brother John Phipps. I was aware of the company, but I had nothing to do with it at all. I'm the youngest of five, and I did the university thing, and I went my own pathway. And I joined up with a number of multinational organisations instead. So I joined 2020 in the position of MD, as you described, and my first activity, apart from getting through COVID, it was really, what is all this about and where are we going to take it?
Let's talk about, what did you do then before you arrived in Cokebusters in 2020? You spent a long time, didn't you, in large engineering companies?
I did my degree in engineering, in metallurgy and corrosion science, and then I started with Mott MacDonald in Altrincham in the northwest. I was there, I think, for 7 years, working on a whole variety of infrastructure projects, and then joined the American Bureau of Shipping. Bit of an unusual move, but that one really immersed me a lot more into the oil, gas, energy, LNG sector, which is what I was interested in. I stayed there for 10 years, moved up to look after their technology side, and then got the calling to move across to Petrofac. And I spent 9 years there, which takes me pretty much to 2020.
What have you learned from your time working in the large engineering contracting sector, and how relevant is still that kind of large engineering sector today?
All three of those experiences were in a consulting nature. Mott MacDonald is an engineering consultancy. Petrofac is a consultancy and an EPC. I was on the consultative side. I think there is still plenty of space for those types of organisations, absolutely. In an engineering sense, maybe that model will evolve further. But I thoroughly enjoyed all three experiences. I left Mott MacDonald ABS on my own accord. I wanted to move forward to do something different. And it gave me a massive grounding and exposure to lots of international projects. I learned at my greatest rate, particularly in that first opportunity. The move into a much smaller organisation, it's nominally a 100-person business.
You talk about Cokebusters.
Cokebusters, yeah. A very, very significant difference. Suddenly, you are everything. You're the lawyer, you're the HR manager, you're the accountant, you're the business development guy. You do all of those things. In the larger organisation, there's a department for each one of those. And I think that was the biggest step change I had to do. I don't know what it would like going the other way around. It would possibly be even harder to move into a larger organisation because your freedoms are eroded.
Do you think, though, the EPC model, if we call it that, is it still as relevant today? There are many companies that we interview at EIC through our Survive Thrive process, which is the process that you went through to then go on to become an award winner, where companies are talking about solutions as their key strategy for growth right now, which basically can be summarized as they have to develop solutions for the end users, to be more creative, to get close to the customer, to sidestep, therefore, the intermediaries so that they're working directly with the end user. And the intermediary is normally the EPC company. I guess I'm wondering, in your experience, do you think the EPC model is changing, needs to change? Because we're seeing so many SMEs, so companies further down in the supply chain now, trying to sidestep them and working directly with operators, which is critical for their own survival in order to improve their margins, in order to avoid too many competitors. This must be having an impact on the EPC model, it seems to me.
I did observe in all three of the larger companies I worked in, an attempt to try and within each of those organisations to do everything. If there was an area of business that they weren't doing, which they felt they needed to deliver a project, that they would either acquire it or develop it, they were less likely to outsource at that time. I think what has evolved is there is more outsourcing. There's a much greater supply chain in there. And being on the inside of it, sometimes you can see how that supply chain is perhaps interacted with, is treated, whatever that might be. I think it's quite tough. I found it hard within Petrofac to supply within Petrofac. You'd think once you're within inside the machine, it's more straightforward. It's actually not, because you're being judged with your competitors externally, and price was the deciding factor. I think the model is also changing because the world is changing. There's less big, hungry mega projects, certainly in the energy sector. When the move came and net zero was becoming more of a popular term, a lot of these bigger infrastructure energy projects, onshore and offshore, started to disappear and become less viable. And there were much smaller projects, the smaller wind turbine projects, the smaller hydro projects, and the EPC model was going to become more stressed. I think that is true.
Where does the name come from, Cokebusters?
The name actually derives from the pig itself. So the pig is what we use to propel through the fired heater circuits to cut the coke out, to bust the coke.